This is quite a delight. I have the esteemed privilege of interviewing this great woman from a great family with so much to share with us and giving us inspiration that we need at this time. She is a minister, a licensed clinical psychologist, an academician, someone that we see on television programs, and also she is the now past president of the American Psychological Association. Dr. Thema Bryant, or should I say Reverend Dr. Thema Bryant. Buckle your seatbelt and get ready for the podcast that will take you on a special journey designed to elevate and empower your cross cultural appreciation for communities around the world. Hello, I'm Carole Copeland Thomas. I'm your host of Conversations with Carole, the weekly show that connects culture with collaboration and community. Welcome aboard. Welcome to Conversations with Carole.
Thank you so much, Carol. I'm so honored and excited to be in conversation with you. And our history goes way back, so I am glad for this opportunity for us to talk.
Absolutely. I want to start off, first of all, you've written many books. With our previous conversation, I mentioned I have somewhere in my home your first book that you wrote on poetry some 3 decades ago almost. It's kind of hard to believe that because you're still a very young woman, but you started early. And I was so excited during those days when you came out with that book and you just continued to enhance and empower others with your word, spoken word, poetry, etc. What was the motivating factor in this newest book that I have right in my lap, Matters of the Heart: Healing Your Relationship with Yourself and Those You Love?
Absolutely. I wanted to write about relationships because it is one of the primary issues or concerns that people often ask about. Our relationships really can predict and enhance our mental health, or they can create distress and challenges for our mental health. And so when we have a healthy support system, not just romantic relationships, but family and friendships, when we feel supported, seen, heard, known, understood, appreciated, it really gives us a secure base so that we can thrive and flourish. And on the other side of that, when our relationships have a lot of drama, toxicity, turmoil, abuse, then that becomes a barrier to our well-being.
Mm-hmm. I'm listening to your words. I'm thinking about what you're saying, and when we look and sort of uh, peel away some of the layers of dynamics that go on with individuals, or why they do certain things, why they choose certain things, I'm sure from your point of view as a psychologist, you're probably looking at an individual and how healthy they are, how they feel about themselves, and how that manifests itself with what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. That when we think of our psychology or even holistic health and holistic well-being, it is not just about what are our thoughts and what are our feelings or what are our behaviors, but it's also about context, our circle at work, our circle at home, our circle within the community. And so looking at those relationships and the importance of mutuality, for it to be reciprocal. Many people are the strong one, so they are the one that other people rely on. But if that is not mutual, then they're not receiving support. They're just a
Mm,
support for others. And so we want to shift any cycle or pattern. I say to people, if they describe a situation where everyone is relying on them, but no one shows up for them, then we want to think about what are the ways I am helping to recreate that pattern. So it's not just like, oh, there's this one selfish person, but whenever I interact with people, I am participating in a process that makes it one-sided. And it really is important for us to be nourished and to be poured into just as we pour into others.
It's interesting that you say that. I know you talk about a number of different kinds of relationships in your book. This last point that you've made reminds me of there's always one person in a family, especially if you have lots of children, maybe there's 6 or 7 brothers and sisters, and there's typically always one person who is the go-to person to take care of, maybe economic issues or aging parents or something
Mhm.
that has to be taken care of. It sounds like to me you're talking to that person that they
Yeah,
have to somehow find a balance so that they're not always the go-to person with
right.
all things family related. How would you respond
Yeah.
to that, Dr.
That,
Thema? Mhm.
yes, that is definitely the case. We can be put into a role and people can expect it of us. But in order for things to shift, often we have to be willing to step back on some things. And what I have found is when everyone knows you have it, then they don't even bother trying to show up or trying to contribute because they assume you're going to do it.
Right.
And so instead, when you start to say no or put limits or boundaries on it, some people do actually step up.
Mm,
And then there are going to be some things, in all honesty, that don't get done.
mm,
So if I stop doing everything, then we may not have everything, and that's okay. And people may need to experience the consequence of their lack of effort.
hmm. And that can be tricky with families.
Yeah. Yes.
Very tricky with families,
That's right.
especially if the default person, the
Mhm.
go-to person, whoever that could be, the youngest, the oldest, whatever it happens to be, if that person begins to stand up for him or herself or themselves,
Mhm.
then that can create
Mhm.
some uncomfortable dynamics, I'm sure, within family
Yeah.
groups. Yeah.
And it's one of the things I share with people. When you start to heal, not everyone will like it.
Hmm.
Some people will celebrate your growth and celebrate the fact that you said, I'm not going to do all that. I need to rest, or I need my peace, or I'm going to do something for me. Some
Hmm.
people will say, oh, that's awesome. Go enjoy yourself. And other people will be outraged or disappointed. So a part of what we have to heal is our people pleasing, where we're making sure everyone else is giving us approval, even while we are neglecting and abandoning ourselves.
Big point with women.
Yes.
Women
Yeah.
fall in that category
Right.
more often than not.
And
Yes.
it's often how we raise our daughters.
Yes.
It's what gets promoted as the model of like a good woman, a good daughter, a good mother, a good wife is someone who erases and neglects themselves. And so we have to begin to create a new story.
And that's not easy, but that is so important.
Yes.
I'm looking at your book. I'm looking at some of your titles, moving from passive to assertive. This is very
Mhm.
much in keeping with what we're
Yeah.
talking about. What about a person who has been romantically hurt? And
Mhm.
that hurt is difficult to remove as they move on to looking for other relationships. How would you respond based on the wonderful information that you have in matters of the heart?
Yes. So we want to first give ourselves space and grace to heal. I think sometimes a mistake we can make is either holding on to something bad until something quote unquote better comes along, or as soon as we're out of it, we are frantically and anxiously looking for someone, anyone, because we don't want to be alone or don't want to be lonely. But it's important so that I'm not repeating the cycle, because
Mhm,
sometimes we pick a new person, new face, new name, but it's the same personality, the same dynamic, the same cycle. So to give ourselves permission to take pause, for me to be okay with me, and then what I like to say is pull the wisdom out of the wounds. What did I learn from this? What did I learn about myself? What did I learn about relationships? What I would like to do differently? What are things that I didn't realize were necessary for me, but they are going to be necessary as I'm looking and going forward? What are things that in this situation were not a deal breaker that I no longer want to accept? And so then we can bring into our new uh, possibilities that wisdom that comes from experience. And so it's not just a matter of, oh, I have had relationships that didn't work, is I have continued to learn and grow and better understand myself.
Hmm.
And that will shift the way that I choose. I like to say, healing my heart will lead to my taste changing, will lead to my standards and expectations
Hmm.
changing. And so we want to be open to that.
Yeah. Yeah. Like it's so much we could have a whole hour just talking about this
Yes.
topic from your book.
Yeah.
And I'm looking at the titles in terms of loneliness. I have been a divorcee for many years
Mhm.
and have grown in the level of comfort and confidence that I have. And even at my age, there's so many things I want to do that I
Mm.
haven't done yet.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty happy with myself. I look
Hmm.
at others where, again, we just talked about this earlier, where they have to have someone, they've moved
Hmm.
from one hurtful relationship to
Yeah.
another, and
Yeah.
they don't learn how to grow and
Mhm.
grow into their own because
Mhm.
the dependency on someone else is so strong. Can you share some wisdom in terms of
Yeah.
that situation?
Yes. So, to create a life that you actually enjoy, instead of we often feel like I'm on hold, that once my person comes, I want to travel the world, or once my person comes, I want to go to this place to eat, or I want, so to take our lives off hold and start to create a life you enjoy now. And then, if and when you connect with someone, you all can enjoy it together and have new memories. But that is also a magnet when we encounter someone who's in their joy, right?
Mhm.
Versus someone who is desperately and anxiously waiting for you to give them joy.
Yes.
So we enjoy ourselves. And then I do like to help people remove um, any stigma or shame about desiring connection.
Mhm.
That there are people who love themselves and are still feeling lonely,
Mhm.
because self-love is different from companionship. And so to be able to say, yes, I'm, working on myself, I'm building this life I love. And if a romantic connection is something I desire, for me to also think very actively about the ways I am open to that, putting myself in position to meet new people, being receptive to new experiences, so that I'm not shut down and closed off from the possibility.
Boys, whew, lots of wisdom there, an awful
Yeah.
lot. I discovered some time ago about travel and the power of travel. I must give your mother credit because my
Ah,
interest in India came from her. Your
oh,
mother whispered in my ear many years ago, you should travel to India. One thing led to
mm,
another. I had no idea that, I would really gravitate toward that, but that
yeah.
has led me to just this exploration of
Mm,
traveling alone. So now I
mm,
love traveling alone to different parts of
yes.
the world. And people will say, "You've done that?" I said, "Yes, because you can obviously learn more about yourself, but
Yeah.
also learn about different cultures and
Mm,
ways that you can really make a difference in many ways." I love cruise
mhm.
ships, so I
Yeah.
do a lot of traveling now on cruise ships because my goal
Um,
is to at least get to about 70 plus countries before the end. And
Beautiful.
can do that a lot on cruise
Oh,
ships. Yeah, so lots
I
of
love
trips there.
that. Around what do you know around what number you're on now?
Yeah, I'm at 32.
Oh,
Yes.
wonderful. That's
Yep, I'm
exciting. I
I'm at
love it.
32, so about
Yeah.
halfway there and have
Yes,
a little ways to go. So I'm
that's
going to be
right.
healthy, get myself
Yes,
prayed up and
right.
keep going. Yes, but
Oh,
your
beautiful.
words just connect with me so much because it is a discovery process, and you learn an awful
Hmm.
lot about yourself when you are able to get on a plane or get on a ship
Yeah.
and then meet new people. That's just really
Hmm.
exciting. Yes.
Oh, I love that.
You have been in a very celebrated family your whole life. For
Mhm.
those who are watching or listening, Dr. Thema Bryant is the daughter of Bishop John Bryant and Reverend Cecilia Bryant, and I believe your grandfather was also a bishop as well.
That's
So
right.
two
Yes.
bishops in
Yeah.
your family. You are
Hmm.
also the brother, your brother is Reverend Jamal Bryant,
Right.
who is now the pastor of New Birth
Hmm.
Baptist Church. He obviously grew up in the AME Church and had his
Yeah.
own congregation, but now is with New Birth and
Yeah.
is quite an advocate in terms of some of these issues that we're facing in terms of the Trump administration. So
Hmm.
is it is it does it come easy for you to embrace the responsibilities that you have, the knowledge that you're sharing because of the family that you were born into?
I believe that my desire and priority around sharing information within the community and within our community in particular does come from my family really having a heart for community.
Mhm,
And so growing up, when my dad was a pastor, they really practice what's called liberation theology, which is, addressing issues of injustice and scarcity now, not just thinking about, the afterlife.
mhm,
And so growing up, our church had an AA degree program, an elementary school, a place where you could pick up clothes or food or job markets and all of those types of things. And so for me, even though I teach in the academy, I teach at Pepperdine University, I'm always looking for ways to share information. And
mhm,
so the books are a way that I do that. The podcast is a way to freely distribute the information. And then through social media as well. So even my graduate students, I prepare them to present at conferences, which is important, but
mhm,
also for them to be able to present in the community, which is, how would you talk about depression or anxiety to someone who doesn't have all of these degrees, but needs to have ways of recognizing it and
mhm,
coping with it and getting help? So I think I was raised that way for it to be a priority and a value of mine. So then, as a result of that, I would say it comes naturally for me to want to share.
And boy, do you share too. I can remember even 10 years ago or so, some of the tweets that you would have, or some of your social media, just little droplets of wisdom. It's just like, whoa, a mic drop information. It said, oh my goodness. You get it honestly because
Oh,
of your
thank you.
parents.
Yes.
Absolutely. You and your brother both get it honestly.
Yeah.
I would be remiss if I did not mention all of the children, should I say, of the Bryants. I say children in terms of those in the ministry
Yeah.
now who got their start at either Bethel, Baltimore, or
Hmm.
St. Paul in
Yeah.
Cambridge. My own pastors Ray and Gloria Whiteham, and co-pastors of
Hmm.
Bethel AME Church in Boston, devotees, obviously, of your family. So, and there are countless other examples of either couples in the ministry or individuals who have in some way been touched by your parents. Did you ever feel like you wanted more from your parents because your parents were giving so much to so many other people? How was that? How did you balance that?
Yeah. So my mom was very much consistently present. She
Mhm,
did a lot of work in the church, but was also a stay-at-home mom. My father traveled a lot, especially when he was campaigning to become a bishop.
mhm,
And so, I was aware of that. But at the same time, I think because my mom was always, for the most part, present, I didn't feel like I was missing
mhm,
something, you
mhm.
know. Yeah.
Mm. Oh, that's well, it shows. It's
Oh,
very, very
thank you.
obvious, right? And again, even though your father has retired,
Yeah.
he is still a force in the
Oh
AME
my
church.
goodness. I always tell people growing up with my dad, I didn't realize what a gift preaching is. He's a very gifted preacher, but
Yes.
because I grew up hearing it, I thought that's what sermons sound like. So
Mm,
when I went away to college, it was so hard for me to find a church because I realized how rare the gift was.
yes.
Yeah.
Quite a treasure, quite a
Yeah.
treasure. So when we look at your skills, when we look at your ministry, your giftedness, your students,
Mhm.
the information, the training that you have from a clinical point of view, where are we, Reverend Dr. Thema Bryant, as it relates to this current administration? And I say that just before we started this interview, I listened to a riveting speech by Attorney General Letitia James in New York. She is ready to confront and has already confronted this administration. It is such an inspirational moment it was for me just to listen and watch that
Mhm.
speech. To me, that's a high point. But when we
Mhm.
look at all the things that are being done intentionally and deliberately, particularly as it relates to Black and Brown people,
Mhm.
how would you recommend society and for the average person to navigate through this madness that we're dealing with?
Yes, absolutely. So, the first thing I would say is to give ourselves permission to feel our feelings without judgment. Sometimes I think people feel like they have to pretend to be at peace, to not have a worry in the world. And with everything that is happening, it would be healthy to have concern, worry, anxiety, outrage. Some of it is despairing, right? Distressing. And so the gift of that is we don't lose our humanity, that we don't harden ourselves where, that teenage answer of like, I don't care, I don't care.
Mhm,
So we want to actually continue to care
mhm,
because the caring is what will mobilize the action and the response. And so that is important. Community is important to be in the presence of like-minded people.
mhm,
As you said, you were inspired by hearing this speech. So when we can in the presence of people who get it, then we don't have the same labor of trying to convince people that humanity is important or that the environment is important. And so that community support is important, being in touch with our feelings. And then a piece of advice I read in a blog from Sherlyn Eiffel, which I really
uh,
appreciate, is there are so many things happening. The best strategy for us is to pick our area of expertise or our
mhm,
area of passion because it's just too much to try to keep up with everything. So, if I'm locked in seeing like what's being done on mental health and somebody else is locked in on education and then the judge is locked in on like the legal battle, that's, what we can do. Those in the faith-based space focus that way. Of course, the universities focused on that. And so it helps us not to become so overwhelmed,
mhm,
to like, focus our energies and then work in coalition, work with other organizations, other people, because what will be required for our resistance and collective liberation is moving in solidarity,
mhm.
right? In solidarity. And that's, I will say, the gift of this madness is because so many different groups are being attacked, it is a great opportunity for us to work in coalition across identities.
That is excellent advice, and that's what I'm hearing across the board from different experts,
Yes.
professionals, conferences that I attend, is that there is strength in numbers and there's
Yes.
strength in unity and working together. We
Yes.
can somehow get through this madness. We've just seen it in terms of Harvard University
Yeah,
standing up and
that's right.
saying, no,
Hmm.
we're not going to
Hmm.
give in. And
Yes.
now the collective response
Right.
that is forming from other universities
Yeah.
now that are
Right. Being
banding
that
together
example.
so that they can
Mhm.
support each other if
Right.
they are addressed with these
Yes.
nasty letters that are
Yeah.
being sent. I'm
Hmm.
in the DEI space, so that's how I
Yes.
make a living. I am
Right.
grateful. I'm in
Yeah.
Massachusetts for a lot of reasons
Uh-huh.
because of the Harvard universities
Yeah.
and our governors like Maura Healey
Hmm.
and Mayor Michelle Wu and
Hmm.
others that give me encouragement, and the
Yeah.
fact that I have corporations and organizations that have not abandoned me and my work.
Hmm.
They continue to
Hmm.
support me. So this
Yeah.
is something that we can't bury our heads in the sand. We
Right.
have to face the obstacles and the hurdles
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
somehow come together and in a unified fashion and
Right.
move forward.
Yeah.
As we close out this, again, I just have so many other questions I'd love to
Mhm.
ask you, but I appreciate your time. Uh, Where should a person who is maybe depressed
Mhm.
or thinks I'm only one person, I don't have the resources. I don't have the academic degrees.
Mhm.
But I want to make a difference, but I just
Mhm.
don't know how. Where
Yeah.
should that person, in addition to reading Matters of the Heart, such a
Mhm.
wonderful book, how should that person proceed and move forward, Dr. Thema Bryant?
Yes. So I would say through awareness raising, when you hear about something that's happening on the news or in social media, to share it, to let other people know. That's the way we also like humanize the stories, that these aren't just numbers, these are
Right.
individuals, people
Hmm.
who have a family, who have dreams. And so telling their story
Hmm.
is a way that we can bring honor and support. And then I would say also communicating with your legislators, whether we're talking about on the city level, on the federal level, to let them know, I am concerned about this and I want to see you fighting for us.
Hmm.
And that is very important for there to be an awareness of mobilizing and community support for people to stand up.
Hmm. Great advice. And I'm going to also encourage my audience to go to town halls, whether
Mhm.
it's your legislator or another one that is coming in replacement of that particular person, if you are in a red state or whatever. There's great information that can be shared. It's a collective experience and
Yeah.
one where you can make a difference just by showing up and
Mhm.
going to those kind of events. Right.
Right. That's
I have
right.
three quick questions that I ask many of my guests, and
Yes.
the first one is, what do most people not know about Reverend Dr. Tama Bryant?
Most people don't know that I love Kukuwa. On YouTube, there's a mother-daughter team, African mother-daughter team that does African aerobics.
Oh,
Discovered them in the pandemic. I love them, and dancing is healing for me. So a lot of people know I love dancing, but this
right.
African aerobics, it lifts your spirit and keeps you moving. So that's a free nugget.
Great. Give us the name again so that people will search it.
Kukuwa. So it's Kukuwa.
Oh, easy. Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Kukuwa.
yeah.
Wonderful. Excellent. Very good. And number two, what is your favorite, in addition to your own, what is your favorite book or movie?
Daughter, Drink This Water. It's a book by Jaya, Jaiya John.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. That's a good one. That's a
Yep.
very good one. And the third one, what city, state, country, or continent is on your travel bucket list?
Oh, so many. But let's Egypt.
Oh,
Yes.
mm,
Yes.
hmm.
So I've been to West Africa and
Yeah,
South Africa,
yes.
but I have not been East. Yeah.
You will enjoy Egypt. I was there
Yeah.
on my one of my solo trips,
Oh,
Alexandria.
beautiful.
It's fabulous. Yes.
Excellent. Excellent.
This has been such a wonderful conversation with
Wow.
an
Thank
extraordinary
you.
woman of action and faith
Mm,
and wisdom, just the wisdom that she continues to have. I thank you so much. We want everybody to check out the book Matters of the Heart, Healing Your Relationship with Yourself and Those You Love. Reverend Dr. Thema Bryant, thank you so much for being a guest on my program.
thank you for having me. Take good care,
All
everyone.
right. Take care now. Thank you. All right. Thank you for listening to Conversations with Carole. Spread the word and tell friends and colleagues that this podcast is tailor made for them. Make sure you subscribe, and we welcome your comments and reviews on your favorite podcast platform. Visit us at CaroleCopelandThomas.com and listen to all of the episodes and learn about my speaking services there. Thanks again, and we'll see you back next week for an exciting new show. See you soon.